Hey guys, I'm going to do a healing your book message. Like I said, these really are just to show you that the scriptures are 1,000 times better than what we've ever been told. And uh, this came from somebody who had asked about 1 John 3. If you continue in lawlessness and sin. And I'm trying to show you that this is all mistranslation, guys, in the 4th century. The Latin mistranslation, when they translated into Latin from Greek and ultimately Hebrew, that the original Greek and the original Hebrew were pictograms. Each letter had a story, and by the time it got translated into Latin, they were translating it not by pictographs. And so they took Aleph from Alpha, which is the seed that's released, which carries the strength of God in the spiritual realm, gives spiritual life, or gives spiritual life, and the seed which released in the physical realm gives physical life. The two covenants starting in Genesis 1. Now it was translated as no or not, or a negative particle. And we've got the exact opposite for the last 2,000 years of what the writers were actually talking about. That's been showing you forever. It's about 2 love covenants. Every story in there, guys. There's not one thing negative about God upset with man. All the words, as I'll show you: sin, lawlessness, unrighteousness, unclean, disobedient, unbelief, dishonor. All of those came from the same mistranslation, guys. The Spirit of God is perfect in you, and it could never be any of those things. And if we're one with God, then that can't be. And so the scriptures, sadly, guys, are exact opposite since it was translated into Latin. And then I've shared with you, isn't it weird that at the end of the 4th century, Constantine had them assemble a canon, put the books together, is what that means. And then for 1,000 years, killed you for even reading the book that they translated. No joke, guys. That's exactly what happened. And so anyway, I'm just trying to show you that the Bible is about the celebration of the 2 covenants of life within mankind. It was never about sin. It was never about unclean. It was never about disobedience. It was all talking about the exact opposite. Akathartos, unclean spirit, is the cleansing of God that's spiritual, meaning you've been impregnated with the life of God of the Spirit. Cleansing meant the seed of God, or the blood, or the semen's been released. That's another biggie too. Is in the 4th century, they took blood as blood, like when you cut your finger, blood, and blood is the Hebrew word dam. It's semen. That's why it says the life is in the blood. It has nothing to do with dripping blood, like God's bloodthirsty, like a pagan god. So let's just get into this. Let me show you the one scripture that he showed you, and I'll just go through a few of these. Okay. So, behold, what manner of love the Father, this is 1 John 3, the Father has given us to those who we call children of God. I want to go right down here. So when we know that when Christ appears, we will be like him, for we will see him as he is, and everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself just as Christ is pure. So there's a purification somewhere, guys. And these hymns don't exist as a capital H, and this Christ doesn't appear as a capital C there. And so then we'll get into sin and lawlessness. And so let's just look at this. So we shall come to know remembrance. Remembrance is to be male or fertilized, because the eon. So if you got, you shall behold the seed, or the life that comes from the strength of the ox within. And it shall be made readily apparent, to be made clear. Now they translate this with a capital C, Christ appears. There's no Christ here, guys. It's phaneru. It should be made visible and clear. Phos, the light, it should be illuminated and made visible. All right. And so we will be like the existence, like him. No, guys. Autu. Self, emphatic, autos. All right. For we will, it shall be, we're going to get this word, they'll appear him? No. Autun, so they add a noon at the end of it. This is the seed of the life of the finished work within us, ourselves, kathos, in the manner of, that exists. And all have this hope in him? No. The finished work and the purification, the cleansing of atone. You shall behold the life of the finished work within yourself, just as capital C again, Christ. There's no capital. There's ikonos, the one. One is alpha, intensified than the life within ourselves, or the purification within ourselves. All right. Now, everyone who practices sin, this is where we really get into this. So sin, lawlessness, you'll notice that all these words supposedly negative about mankind all start with an alpha. So this is sin. Meros just means your portion, your share, and your inheritance. And there's two guys. You shall have a physical life and you shall have a spiritual life. That's your portion or share, your inheritance. So meros is just portion, share, inheritance. From harmatano, so to miss the mark, no, it never means miss the mark, guys. Let's get into this. So alpha, and they the Latins translated it, and ultimately no, not, un, without. Okay, so negative particles. So every word that it says, the writers of scripture said it's the exact opposite. So this says you're going to miss your inheritance or not your inheritance. You're missing your portion or your mark. But let's look at this. Alpha, of Hebrew origin, the first letter of the alphabet. All right, the numeral 1. Now this is very important. So alpha comes from the Hebrew origin, the first letter of the alphabet, which is obviously, if you go over here. So let's just look at A in Greek first, okay? Ancient Greek. Oops, that's Hebrew. Let's go here. So we just saw that alpha comes from the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Alpha is the first letter of the Greek alphabet in the system of Greek numerals, as a value of 1, exactly what I just read to you. Alpha is derived from a Phoenician letter aleph, which is the West Semitic word for ox. Now, I want you to show that in Greek, it doesn't mean no or not. It means the strength of the ox. It says it's from the Hebrew aleph. Let's go look at the Hebrew aleph. This is why I went over here. You can show this a couple ways. Here's the Hebrew, which is the number for 1, first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's the ox, the strength of the creator or the leader, aleph. Does it mean no or not in Hebrew? No. So it doesn't mean no or not in Greek. It doesn't mean no or not in Hebrew in the original text. And let's just go to HebrewForChristians.com. First letter Hebrew alphabet is called aleph. It's where we all get our alphabet, guys, aleph bet. The pictograph is what? The ox. The letter left means the father. The original pictograph represents an ox. It means the strength or the leader. It's a numerical value of 1. It also has a value of 1,000. If you dig into it, you'll see that the yod is the seed of the strength of God that's released from the upright man in the lower realm, the earthly realm, right here. And it's the strength of God, of the spirit that's been released in the divine realm, spiritual realm. It's the gematria of Yud He Vav He. Now, in Greek, it doesn't mean no or not. In Hebrew, no or not. Hebrew for Christians, it never means no or not. It means the strength to create is from the Father. It means the creator. And it means the seed that's released carries the strength of God. It's the ox, right? Now, if we go back to this, so what should this say? It says, everyone shall lo or behold the manufacture, what comes, the doing of the strength, which is your portion. The strength of God, which is your portion, not sin. So let's go look at lawlessness. Oh no, nomos. So let's go look at nomos, that which is assigned to you. Emphasis on the first 5 books of Scripture, any system of religious teaching to the law, general principle, both sides simultaneously, means to parcel out. Almost the exact same message, guys, to divide or to be distributed, to distribute, to portion out. It's so they translated as no nomos, all right? But alpha, no, not, is translated by the Latins and ultimately into English. But if you dig down again, alpha, of Hebrew origin, the first letter of the alphabet, figuratively only for its use of the alpha. All right, so we go to, it's from the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph means the ox, strength, the leader. Well, what does it mean in Greek? Alpha. Alpha is the first letter of the Greek alphabet in the system of Greek numerals. It is a value of 1. Alpha is derived from Phoenician letter of lot, ox, which means the strength of the God, the strength of the ox, the father, the creator. Guys, nowhere does alpha ever mean no or not. Every negative word about mankind in Scripture, sin, lawlessness, disobedience, unclean, unbelief, dishonor, they don't exist. Don't get mad at me. I'm just showing you what's there. And but boy, what a difference it makes in the good news when you read it correctly, guys. So here's what that should say. Everyone shall experience the strength of God, which there's portion and and the strength of God will be portioned out as well. That's it. Sin is lawlessness. No. The strength of God that exists is the portion that shall be portioned out. All right. So let's just go look at some other words. So we looked at sin. Let's go look at my one favorite one, 1 John 5:17. Everyone shall experience the unrighteousness. We already did sin. No, sin means everyone shall receive the strength of God is their portion or share, physically, spiritually, the two covenants is all the Bible's ever talking about. A dikia. Dikia is word, a judgment, DK, a justice that's been sent out, the word, the right, that's self-evident. From A, not, no. Of Hebrew origin, alpha. Let's go look at this again. In Greek, alpha, first letter of the alphabet, derived from the Phoenician letter aleph, which means the strength of the ox. Does it mean no or not to you there? Doesn't to me either. Really weird, huh? So it should be the right is the strength of God, and they all will experience the divine decree of God, the right that comes from God, and the inheritance that comes from God that exists. And there is this life that of the strength of God that exists. Ooh, no, it doesn't say ooh, no or not. I've showed you this. I'm kind of straying off, but there's no or nots anywhere in Scripture, guys. Ooh is Omicron Upsilon. You shall come to behold or understand the upright stake, basically the maleness, the seed that's released from the upright stake. Lo, which is the strength of the ox that comes from the staff or the rod, which is obviously the completion of intimacy. And then you've got this Aleph Yod Nun. It's got the strength of God and the life that comes from the finished work within. Translated as no or not. So that doesn't exist. Unrighteousness, lawlessness. Let's go look at unclean. And this is sad, guys, because complete ministries have been yelling at people that they're unclean. So if you go look at this is Mark 5. For Jesus has already declared, no, there's not Jesus had already declared there. It's one word. This is the word of the command. For the command that comes out, the word that comes out, ek from the inside out, to the covenant of the upright man you shall come to understand of man, you unclean spirit. Let's go. This is the cleansing of the spirit. So you go look at unclean, and it'll say A from catharsos. Catharsos means to clean or the purge. A means no or not. It translated in Greek, but in Greek it means the strength of the ox. In Hebrew it means the strength of the ox. So the cleansing that carries the strength of God that you are cleansed with, translated as unclean, is from the Spirit. All right, so that's unclean. Let's go look at disobedient. The judgment from the house of God. Oh boy, I've heard people say this is going to be, they're going to judge the churches first. No. So let's go look at disobey. You can see apathunton, to disobey. Literally, refuse to be persuaded. No, this will be the absolute persuasion of the Lord, from apethus. So they translate this as disobedient. Alpha and patho, to have confidence in the persuasion of God. Have confidence in the persuasion of God. Everyone should be persuaded of God. And they translate it as disobedient. Guys, I'm telling you, there's nothing in Scripture. God's highest creation, you and I, with 44 billion miles of DNA, he was never upset with us. The only time that we got upset was 4th century, when they translated the pictographs into something negative. So let's do one more just to show you all the boy's father cried out. Oh yeah, and here's another one. If you can, echo Jesus. I don't have time to get into this. I've actually gone through this before, but immediately I do believe I help my unbelief. Now, I've seen charismatics, word of faith, like spin themselves in pretzels, try to explain this. So I do believe you shall be persuaded of the aid, the mighty waters within of unbelief. No. You're going to be persuaded of a different water. Unbelief, apistia. So negated form of pistos, faithful, from apistos. All right. Nor not pistos, faithful. No, that doesn't mean unfaithful, guys. It means you shall be persuaded the faithfulness of God. I don't know whether I should laugh or cry in most of these, but I believe because you will be aided by the faithfulness of God. And then you'll see unclean spirit, the boy with an evil spirit. There's nothing evil about this, guys. So if you go look at this again, unclean is going to be the katharsos, the cleansing of the spirit. From katharsos, to be clean or purged. No or not. No, you should be cleansed by the strength of God, which is spiritual. It's not a physical seed, it's the spiritual. It's not physical semen, it's spiritual semen, which is, you can't hear, deaf and mute the spirit. Yeah, I think that's enough, guys, just to show you that you never have to worry about being displeasing to God. Sin, lawlessness, unrighteousness, unclean, disobedient, unbelief, dishonor, all are mistranslations, guys, in the 4th century. All are the exact opposite of what they say. And everything is about 2 love covenants. The whole scriptures, we're talking and celebrating about the strength of God in man, physically and spiritually, to create. So, like I said, I only do these cleansing or healing of the books to show you what it really says. It's all good news. And once you start to understand it's all good news, all the scriptures start to make sense. All the things of, why would God be so harsh? Why would he kill his only son? Why does, if God is pure love, why can't he just forgive? How come he needs to kill somebody? None of it makes sense, guys. And you know what? None of it's there. It's all about the good news of 2 love covenants. The power of God to create physically, the power of God to create spiritually. From Genesis 1, they carry the whole story through the end of the Bible. So hope that's healing your book.